Africans, by and large, although it is getting better, and I will admit that it is getting better, they have a deep dislike for blacks in America. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Soapbox. I'm Judius Pinkston, your host and your urban historian. And remember to like and subscribe if you like what you hear. Get this message out to as many people as possible. That is what we hope for, and that is what we're doing. I'm stepping up on the soapbox. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your urban historian back with more material, more things to talk about. And today I just want to take the time to talk about how blacks treat blacks, how Africans treat black people. And today I want to talk about some anecdotal stories that I have and anecdotal incidents throughout the past that I've dealt with personally and what they've meant to me, and anecdotal stories about what other folks have dealt with as well. As you may or may not know, Africans, by and large, although it is getting better, and I will admit that it is getting better, they have a deep dislike for blacks in America, for black people, because they drank the Kool-Aid and they believe the hype that the racial hierarchy system here in America tells them. They've been told everything from, if they want to succeed, don't deal with black people, to black people are responsible for all crime in America. And they believe it. They believe it. They believe it. I've had friends who were African. I've had a roommate that was African. And I don't really like saying African because, it's equal to saying European, so it's being generic because, there are different countries in Africa, and it is one of the most diverse continents on the planet and one of the most diverse language continents on the planet as well. More languages on the continent of Africa than anywhere else. But I wanted to talk about the racial strife between them and Black Americans. It's like saying there were riots in the 1960s when Black folks was being attacked for protesting. And they would call it a riot. And then when you look at it, you would see the police beating the hell out of him and white folks attacking them, but it was a riot. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of that kind of thing going on, where they have a tendency to show dislike. My wife and I went to a very nice restaurant not too long ago, and we were celebrating, and we sat down in the restaurant, and this restaurant was an expensive restaurant. It was a high-end restaurant. And we sat down, and when we sat down, there was no one to the left of us. And we had a little table, and there was a wall on our side. And then there was an aisle, and then another table that was empty. Well, the table that was empty, 3 African men were seated at that table. And I knew that they was going to bring some mess, and they didn't disappoint. And halfway through my wife and I's conversation, she stopped. She said, "I feel like they're talking about us." I said, "Well, if you feel that way, that's because they are." And the oldest one out of the group was the one that was inciting a lot of the BS. The younger one was refuting the fact that the older one, they were trying to say it in their language, like, you can't read body language and facial expressions. And the older one was saying that we didn't have the money to be there. The younger one was disputing him, saying we did. And the third one, who was furthest away from us, was just kind of taking it in and listening and speaking. So, it kind of made the dinner a little awkward, knowing that we were occupying so much empty space in their heads. But it's par for the course a lot of times when Black people in America have to deal with them. Because another time I was with someone and we were in going to a casino, and we were in Nevada, and we were going to a casino at that time. And we came up to this train. They have these trains that take you around to the different casinos. So the train kind of does this, and it kind of takes you around to the casinos, and it kind of goes in a circle, and circuitous. So we were going to a different casino and using the train to get there. And the train stopped. I look on the train inside of the car, and I turned to the person that I was with, and I said, "See them Africans right there? Watch them give us a load of crap when we get on. Watch." And sure enough, they didn't disappoint. They were looking like we slapped their mama. The way they were looking at us, and the way they were eyeballing us, and the way they showed disgust in our presence. And let me back up for a minute and say that this hasn't been an experience every time, but it's been an experience a lot of times. And so these are not isolated incidents. This is an ongoing thing, that Africans think that they are better than African Americans or Black people or descendants of Africans. So anyway, I had a roommate. He was from Nigeria, and we used to commute. We worked at the same company. We used to commute together. Sometimes I would drive, sometimes he would drive. That day we were driving in his car, and he's telling this story about how he was in a fight. And in this fight he was in, it started out in an argument, and then he had to handle his business and clock a dude. And so he was telling me the story, and he was like, "Yeah, and that nigga," and he froze. "Oh, excuse me." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna get him later. I'm gonna wait. So I waited, and the next conversation we was having on another day, he came back, and we were talking, and we were on the way home in the car, and I said to him, I said, "Yeah, I got this buddy, and he was this buddy I got, he from another country, and he was, talking about, yeah, the Blacks here is this, and the Blacks here is that, and the Blacks here are this and that." And I told him, I said, "You know what?" I said, "Let me tell you something." I said, "They got planes all day long going back to your country. If you don't like what you see here, hop your ass on a plane and get back to where you came from. And ain't nobody gonna say nothing about you leaving." I said, because Blacks died and cried, shed blood, marched, fought, and did everything else to provide civil rights so you could come here and discriminate against us. We paid, you enjoy. Thank you. You're welcome. So a lot of times what happens in these situations is you get ignorant people who don't really understand history, who don't really know what happened, and who don't really have a valid opinion, making life harder for people who look like them. That's my take. And with that, I'm going to step down off my soapbox. Peace. If you like what you hear and you want to be a guest on the show, to step up on your soapbox, please like and subscribe and reach out. And when it's your turn, Step up. Stepping down off my soapbox. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.